Well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to all of our attendees tuning in from around the world. Today's broadcast of Invisible Women in Sport is an Institute for Sport and Social Justice production. I am your producer, Garnett Overby III. All guests will be muted during this production, but I encourage you to use the chat feature to ask a question or leave a comment. We will reserve time at the end to answer your questions. So now, without further ado, I would like to welcome two of our hosts, Candace Martin and Tolu Lope Amakore.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to season 3, episode 12 and 50th episode of Invisible Women in Sport. I am your host, Candace Martin. Today, I'm joined by original host, season 1's own Tolu, who will co-host with me today. What a way to celebrate the 50th episode. Thank you so much, Tolu, for joining us.
Thank you. It's great to be back.
Absolutely. Real quick, what's your fondest moment of hosting Invisible Women in Sport during your season?
Woo, girl, we did not talk about those.
We did.
Oh my gosh, put me on the spot. Let's see. Wow, there's so many episodes. Probably just honestly talking to so many influential women and kind of just, you know, at that time I was starting my career as well. So just getting all the advice and soaking it up from all these great women. So I guess that's my fondest moment.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. Hoping that you can add the 50th episode to your fondest memories. So let's jump into it. Everyone, you are all certainly in for a treat. This week, we will sit down with not one, but two trailblazing women in the sport industry. First, we have Kiesha Nix, Vice President of Charitable Affairs for the Los Angeles Lakers. And we also are joined by Asia Gholston, Senior Director of Marketing for the Jacksonville Jags. Thank you, ladies, so much for joining us today.
Thank you. So excited to be here.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's so great to sit down and have a conversation with you all. All right, so my faithful viewers, we're going to do a little bit of a different icebreaker. We're going to play Who Done It. So we're going to read our statements, and you all are going to place into the chat who out of the four of us, myself, Tolu, Kiesha, and Asia, who done it. And then we will reveal who actually did it. All right, so let's jump into it. So the first one is this guest played, or this person out of the four of us, played Division I basketball. So you guys can cast your answers into the chat now. So who's the hooper out of the bunch? Let's see.
Can we play? Can we
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we can play. Matt says Tolu. Amber
Asia look like a hooper.
She
Asia,
does.
you hoop?
It's giving hooper. It is.
Okay. Okay.
Let's see. Have any more guests? Maya says Tolu. Tolu, you hoop?
I don't know.
All righty, friends. So the correct answer is actually Tolu. I appreciate the people that said me. I tried it. I didn't like it. So kudos to you, Tolu.
Thank you. Go Knights.
So the next statement, this person says that they have identified themselves as a Pinterest chef. So who do you all think is the one that's cooking in the kitchen? Who's the Pinterest chef? Kiesha, you the Pinterest chef? I think it might be Kiesha. We got some Kieshas. What else is coming through this?
Back and forth.
Kiesha, Asia, Kiesha. Y'all don't think I cook? I like
right?
to cook.
How they do you like that?
Wait a minute. All righty. So the correct answer is Asia. So those are the Pinterest chef. It is actually Asia. All righty. So this person loves chocolate chip cookies. Who do we think is loving on the chocolate chip cookies? I'm gonna go Tolu. I'm gonna say Tolu.
Okay. I do like me some chocolate chip cookie. Yeah. Everyone.
It's pretty safe. So that answer is actually myself. I love a chocolate chip cookie. If I could probably be a chocolate chip cookie, I probably would.
Do you like the soft chocolate chip or the hard chocolate chip?
Not gooey, but the nice soft in the middle, but like a hard edges. You know, it's like cooked. Right. Asia, you got a recipe for that? Okay, cool. Let's talk about it. Absolutely. All right, so the next person, her first job was at McDonald's, and she actually loved it. Who worked at Mickey D's first? Let's see.
I haven't been to McDonald's in a minute, I will say. I try to stay away, but the big riddles be calling our name in the morning.
Absolutely. So that answer is actually Kiesha.
Hey.
Kiesha was the first person to work at McDonald's. That was her first job. All right. So the next person is left-handed. Who's left-handed? Who's the lefty? Tolu, you're a lefty?
I wish. And I try not.
Okay, so it's not Tolu, so they kind of eliminate everyone.
Right?
And I've been doing everything and pointing with my right hand, so I think I pretty much given away myself. Oh, well, Matt did say you have the baby in the left arm, so.
But I need the mouse on the right, so.
This is true. All right, so our lefty is actually Asia.
Hey.
She's also our lefty. Very nice.
Okay.
All right, next statement. This person graduated from an HBCU.
Ooh.
That's probably Kiesha. Could be
Come on, HBCU.
Yeah. Who's that?
Who's the real HU? You know, I don't know. Who's the real HU?
Oh, Jackie said Hampton University. You heard it from the CIAA. She said it's Hampton.
Our very episodes, I was saying Howard, but just because Jackie on, I'll go ahead with Hampton.
All righty. So the HBCU grad is actually myself. I graduated from the Alabama State University. I don't know about the real HU, but I do know about the Bama State Spirit.
Okay.
All righty. So this person tore both ACLs.
Dang.
So who had a little
That's tough.
Both knees. Yeah, that's tough. That's tough. We got Tolu. Oh, it looks
right.
Is it you, Tolu?
I try to play it off. Did I play it off? Clearly not.
So Tolu did or has recovered from 2 ACL injuries in both knees.
Yes.
But it was all worth it at D1 basketball. So
right. That's right.
All right. Our next guest loves the Dallas Cowboys. Who's loving on the Dallas Cowboys? We have Kiesha. Jackie says not Kiesha. Amber says not Asia.
That's funny.
All right, so our lover of the Dallas Cowboys is Miss Kiesha Nix. She loves her Dallas Cowboys.
Don't tell the Rams, please.
They won't hear from us. All righty, friends. So now I'm going to throw it over to Tolu to take over the rest of our statements.
Yes, the next person is the youngest and the only girl of 4 children.
Who's that? Is that you, Miss Kiesha? Is it Kiesha? Maybe Asian.
Youngest, only. Candace.
All right. Do I give?
I think you do. I think you do give.
Is that what I'm giving? You all.
Oh, well, thank you, Miss Jackie.
It's me, y'all. It's me. It's me. I'm the youngest and baby of 4 and the only girl. I am.
Wow.
I'm not spoiled. I'm loved.
That's right. I love that. Okay, the next person. Favorite colors are bling, sparkle, and glitter. Favorite colors. That they bling, that sparkle, that glitter.
Let's see. Asia's necklace is giving bling, so maybe it's
Okay, that's a good one. Let's see. Asia. Come on, I need one more person now. One more person.
Who else think? Asia, Kiesha.
All right. That is Kiesha. Jordan. Good job. All right. This next person has a green birthmark.
Ooh.
A green birthmark.
Ooh. Who's that? One is like, is it in the shape of like a food item? Is it like a green birthmark?
Let's see what we got. Green birthmark. See, I'm still trying to find this one birthmark. I don't know when their birthmark shows up. I'm still like, I'm looking like, where's your birthmark? Okay. Did anyone say anything? Green birthmark? No one could guess that?
I want to guess.
All right, in 5, 4, 3, 2, Amber with Candace. Yes, Candace has a green birthmark.
It's me. It's on the side of my. It's so funny because a lot of people I play volleyball and they're just like, "What is that on the side of your head?" I'm just like, "What is it?"
Oh,
And I realized I'm like, "Oh, it's a birthmark." I think I got bopped upside the head with a volleyball. I was like, "Good grief, it's a birthmark, guys."
okay, let's do about 3 more. Let's see. This person is obsessed with food that has lemon taste. I don't know if that includes lemon pepper wings. I'm not a big lemon pepper wings. Lemon pepper wings. We got Kiesha. Kiesha. Lemon cake. Okay, Papa G. Big Pop. Lemon cake. Okay. Anybody else? Anybody else? Lemon taste.
I do like a lemon pepper wing.
We got Asia. Asia, do you like lemon pepper wings?
Lemon pepper wings, lemon cake, pasta with lemon. You name it.
Wow. Okay.
If y'all never had like lemon flavored French toast, like,
No, that's different. I'll think about you next time. All right, I'll go ahead and do 2 more. Criminal justice was this person's major in college. Dun 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 dun. Boom 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 boom. Okay, I love me some Law and Order now.
I do too. SVU is the only way to go.
That's the only one. That is the only one. Okay.
I do watch all the first 48s and Fatal Attractions. I do love a crime TV. And that I do.
Candace, okay. Kiesha, okay. So we got Tolu, Candace, and Kiesha. Can't be all 3 of us now. One person. One person, one more. Then 5, 4.
Asia.
Okay, so now it's all 4 of us.
Yep.
All 4 of us. Who's the final? Who's the final person? 5, 4, 3. Kiesha, yes, it is Kiesha with the criminal justice. Do you like SVU? Please say yes.
I do. And actually, criminal justice was my minor. English was my major.
Oh, excuse me. Okay, I'm gonna do one more. This person is from the DMV.
DMV.
DMV, and that's not the
I'm gonna go Asia.
the motor vehicle place. Everybody think of this, DC, Maryland, Virginia. Got Tolu.
On to you, Tolu. I'm gonna go Asia.
Asia do look like from DMV. Probably Virginia, maybe. Tolu. All right, you guys. Yeah. It's me. Okay. Whoa, you guys got one. Whoa.
What part of the DMV, Tolu?
Maryland, PG County, baby.
Very nice, very nice. All righty, friends. So that was very fun. Thanks, Tolu, for helping me out with that icebreaker. So now we're going to jump into the conversation, ladies. So in our pre-screen, we talked about how you both essentially took a more of an untraditional route into the sport industry. So Asia, tell our guests what your start into sports looked like.
Yeah, so hi everyone. My start into sports was on the media agency side. And the reason why I went that route is I went to a Big Ten school, Michigan State. And what would happen is when I was looking for internships, a lot of those sports internships ended up going to former players or players who wanted to get drafted but didn't. And they ended up first in line for those internships. So I decided to parallel path my career and try to get a transferable skill in in sports marketing, and I found that on the media agency side. So I did digital investment for Chevy at an agency called Cara, and then I transitioned into digital strategy for Cadillac at the same agency before learning that multicultural marketing was a thing, and I wanted to explore that a little further. And I got that opportunity when I was asked to work on the L'Oreal multicultural beauty business, and then I made the jump into sports and running a social for an NBA team.
Absolutely. So that's phenomenal. So essentially you started completely different industry. You did the automotive, you did the beauty industry, and now you were able to maneuver and work your way into sports. So we're going to put a pin there. And then Kiesha, I want you to tell us about your untraditional route into the sport industry.
So I started my career in finance, actually. I was at Merrill Lynch and Bank of America for 21 years. And 18 of those 21 years, I did community relations for free because it was my passion. And it was something that, I knew was important. And when Bank of America bought Merrill Lynch, I was offered a position in community relations. And I said, oh, no, I don't want to do this for real. I just want to do it, kind of for play. And one of my mentors said to me, you're never going to end up where you want to be if you don't take this leap of faith. And as a single mom who was sending her one and only child off to college, it was a tough decision because it was a huge pay cut. And so I took the move. I went to the Bank of America side in community relations. And the first assignment I was given was to manage the bank sponsorship of the Los Angeles Dodgers. And that really just kind of catapulted my career in sports philanthropy. And after doing that for about 3 years, the owner of the Lakers, Jeannie Buss, called the Dodgers and said, I'm looking for someone to run our foundation. And they said, we have one person. She doesn't even work here technically, but she's the person. And that call was on a Monday. And by Friday of that week, I had a whole new career.
Oh, wow.
That's pretty cool. What would you say? Well, this is a question for the both of you guys. I always like to see who influenced you all when you were growing up, whether it be your parents, whether it be your grandparents, whether it be somebody on TV. So Kiesha, if you want to go ahead and get this one too as well.
So definitely it was my grandparents. My grandparents raised me and they were community servants. That was the first interaction I had with, giving back and taking care of each other and taking care of the community. And, I often joke, they took such good care of me. I thought we were rich until I was, like in almost high school. And little did I know we were definitely not rich, but they were rich in spirit and they were rich in generosity. And I learned, that giving back at church, at food distributions, at voting polls, like they ran our voting polls, you couldn't be in our house and not vote like that. They took those things very seriously. And so that is where, I think I get my passion, to give back to the community from my grandparents.
Shout out to your grandparents. Hey, Asia, you want to take that one?
Yeah, I would say for me, it's the women who helped raise me. So that's mom, godmom, grandma, like they were bosses in their own right, in their own industry and in their own lane. So I always grew up knowing that I could do for myself. Like everybody will tell you that my family kind of raised me to be an independent Black woman, and now I'm like in a whole relationship. So we worked through that. But yeah, like my grandma, she was the first person that I knew that moved away from Detroit. So as far as I knew growing up, like Detroit was the main place to be. Why would you ever leave? And when I would talk to my grandma, like, why did you leave? She's like, oh girl, you got to spread your wings. You got to go out and meet new people and try new jobs. She's like, the worst thing that I would never want for you to only stay in Detroit. So she always put like embedded in me that I needed to get out of Detroit and see other things. Detroit will always be here. You can always come back if you want. But she knew in order for me to grow into the person I am today that I needed to leave the city. So I don't think I would have ever done that without her support.
Wow, the grandparents are killing it, man. Shout out to them, for you as well. Similar to me, my mom raised me as well. My grandma, they were both in nursing and health field, and we moved from Nigeria to Maryland. And my grandma was already in nursing school out in Maryland. So definitely they raised me as well to be the woman I am today. So every essay, when they talk about growing up, I'm like, mom and grandma, mom and grandma, mom and grandma. So I definitely understand. So often we have in our minds our perfect jobs growing up. Like, oh, I want to be this. I want to be this. Did you guys see yourself being in the sports industry, or where you guys at now?
I'll start. I'll say no. I did not really see that. My family was really into sports. So growing up, sports came only second to religion in our house. So you went to church and then you watched whatever sport was on television. You were a Dodgers fan, you were a Lakers fan. There were no options there. Football, you kind of had an option. And then you supported every family member from little league to high school to college. And so I didn't play sports. I was a cheerleader, but I went to every game, of every family member. So, as a female, I knew so much about sports. And to this day, I know so much about sports. But it was just something that I was passionate about and I enjoyed, but I definitely did not see, a career in sports. With the criminal justice minor, I really thought I was going to go to law school. And I didn't do that. Things changed and I kind of had to pivot. And I'm really happy with the way things did change and the decisions that were made. And so finance, opened the door for sports. And here I am.
I think for me, I'm the Disney dreamer kid. So I had a few different career paths. At one point, you guys remember the movie Cool Runnings? Like I thought I wanted to do professional bobsledding. My parents let me, and then I became obsessed with Law and Order. So my grandma just knew I was about to be the family lawyer. And at one point I settled on, I'm going to be the president of BET Networks. Like in high school, I was like, that's what I'm doing. And then when I got to Michigan State, I kind of shifted a little bit. I was like, maybe I want to be a sports agent. And I took a class and we never got to the sports agent part of the book. And I dropped out of I went back to my counselor like, hey, get me out of here. I need 4 years so I can go be the president of BET. And I kind of just went the mass marketing route and was blessed enough to have an internship at BET and came back and was like, maybe I don't want to run BET. Let me go back to that other thing I thought I wanted to do. It was definitely too late for me to transition and try to go be the lawyer I saw on SVU growing up. So sports kind of came back into the forefront for me when I was in college, but I knew sports marketing would be it for me.
Absolutely. That's phenomenal, lady. So started out in finance, Kiesha, Asia, automotive, beauty industry, along with all the other potential career paths that you ladies could have taken. Would you all go back and do it all over again if you all had the chance?
I would definitely do it over again. Having a background in business, finance, being part of corporate America for 21 years really prepared me for the position that I sit in now in sports. Going from one white male dominated industry to yet another, but being so young and literally growing up, at Merrill Lynch, starting there at 24 years old, pregnant with my only son, who 24 years later started at 24 at Merrill Lynch as a financial advisor. So God brought it back full circle. Full circle. And, I wouldn't change anything, all the lessons that were learned, all the challenges, all the obstacles, really prepared me. So it's almost like, the sports world is easy, compared to, what I had to deal with as a 24-year-old single mom from South Central Los Angeles. I was not the poster child for a person in sport. In finance. A professional in finance did not necessarily look like me. And so, I got all the questions and what is it like? Isn't it hard? I got all of that. And I had to live through it. And the only thing that I could really do was show them. It wasn't about talking the talk. It was really about walking it and about letting my work, speak for itself.
Absolutely. And Asia, would you go back and do it all over again?
I would not change a thing. My career on the media side, I really believe that's where I got my strategy chops from. And to Kiesha's point, like once you can survive auto, like you can survive just about anything. And to be 22 years old, managing a $15 to $20 million budget, trying to sell cars, I graduated in 2008, right? Like, so 2012, and then we hit the recession, and I'm out here trying to convince people to go take their hard-earned money and purchase a car. So coming from that, like I knew like if I could sell Chevy retail of all things, like I can sell anything. And right now I get to sell a team, a brand, and experience versus a product, which I love.
Absolutely. That's phenomenal, ladies. And so we have, or you ladies have mentioned a little bit about being Black women in white male dominated spaces. And often we hear about how leagues or professional sports in general are reluctant to hire women or Black women. What has your experience been as Black women in a white male dominated industry? What has been your different perspectives on that stigma, so to speak, when it comes to working in the male industry? And Asia, we can start with you.
Yeah, I'll say one, I'm an only girl, right? So I grew up running with the boys. So I've never been scared of that. I also, we talked about in the pre-screening call that I went to a predominantly white high school, a predominantly white college. So when I actually entered corporate America, I didn't have that culture shock. So it was like, all right, here we go again. We can do this. And I've always been blessed to be good at what I do. So a lot of times until I found my voice and who I am as a Black woman in these spaces, my work spoke for itself. And then as I found my voice little by little, I was able to match that. Like, oh yeah, her work is great, but like wait until she talks you through like why she's doing this. As it relates to sports, I think who you work for is really, really, really important. And when I got to the NFL, like I was terrified. It was like, nobody looks like me. Not only does nobody look like me, I am not a huge football fan. I grew up being a Detroit Lions fan, but when it came to all 32 teams, I was like, they're gonna find me out. They're gonna be like, this girl is supposed to be here. And Kiesha and I actually know a mutual person. And my first day, my VP on my team dropped me off to this lady named Linda DeAmper. She was like, you gonna need to get to know her because she gonna help you navigate this space. And at the time I was like, oh, that's whack. She's gonna drop me off to another Black woman because she think that's where I need to be. But like little did I know, like being able to build community and for her to help me navigate that space, I really don't think I would have survived as long as I would have. So I definitely think finding that community once I got to those spaces, like really helped propel me forward.
Absolutely, Asian. Talk about culture shock. I had a completely different experience. So from the home of blues and barbecue, Memphis, Tennessee, for you all who didn't know, it's the home of blues and barbecue. All right. Predominantly Black, grew up in the inner city of Memphis, all Black high school, went and graduated from an HBCU, played for an HBCU conference, granted opportunities as a postgraduate intern at the NCAA in championship operations in Indianapolis, Indiana. No, talk about a culture shock, Asia, so it just was, I'm fortunate for that experience because I was able to broaden my lens on what the world and what also the sport industry looks like. Because unfortunately, there are not a lot of women or Black women that look like us who we're going to be in rooms with. And I just know that a lot of the rooms that I have entered, that I will enter in the future, I will be potentially the only woman and woman of color. So, I'm fortunate for that experience, but I was definitely culture shocked when I was able to move to Indianapolis, Indiana, but I did enjoy the championship operations experience as an intern. So Kiesha, what has your experience been like as a Black woman in the white male dominated industry?
So something Asia said that's really important, like who you work for, matters. And I happen to work for the only female owner in the NBA, in Jeannie Buss. And that is something very special. That is who I report to. And I've really seen her, go out of her way to make sure opportunities are available, for women. Now, myself personally, I am the first Black female vice president in the history of the Lakers organization. So we'll just let that sit for a minute.
Let it sit. Let it sit.
And that was not an easy feat, you know, but it was also Jeannie who I heard say, it's okay to be the first, but it's not okay to be the only. And so, you know, I take that on every day, that I have to pave the way for others that are coming, you know, behind me. Now, sports across the industry, you know, there are not enough women of color in sports. I think the NBA does an okay job compared to maybe some of the other leagues, and we've come a long way, but honestly, we have a long way to go. And so I think that myself, Asia, people like us who are able to receive that and understand what that responsibility is like, and just be open to making sure that we are opening doors for diverse candidates. That's what it's really about. It can't be just me and Asia get to a certain point and it's like, oh, we made it. No, what about everybody else? What about Tolu? What about Candace? What about opening up the doors? Exactly. And so that becomes a part, like you wear that every day. When you get up, that's part of your uniform. Is how am I going to, you know, increase access? And I want to make sure that I can stand on that. You know, I want that to be a part of my legacy.
Absolutely, Kiesha. And you spoke about being the only. And I know, Asia, you made a powerful statement in the pre-screen when we talked about being labeled as the only in a room, whether it be the only woman, whether it be the only Black woman. So, Asia, could you bless the audience with what you shared with us the other day in the pre-screen about being identifying as the only person in a room?
Was that my gym or was that Kiesha's gym?
It was both, but you made a statement about not giving it power. So
that was the angry Black woman trope. That's what
it was.
Yeah. So I am one of those, like, years ago, because I felt like when I started doing speaking, a lot of the questions that I would get, like, well, how do you denote the angry Black woman? And I was like, well, I'm not angry, so I stopped giving that life. And I felt like that was a title that was given to Black women that we've been asked to fix, right? Like, I didn't label myself the angry Black woman, so don't ask me how I sidestep it, because I never looked at myself as that. So I don't give it life. Like, if somebody asks me about it, I look at them like they got a blue face, like, oh, can you repeat that? What are we talking about? Like, I'm one of the most even-keeled people that you'll meet. So why would I be answering any questions that relates to an angry Black woman? Because we didn't give ourselves that title. So why are we the ones that have to talk about it? So if that title came from a white man, why don't you go talk to him about how do he interact with angry Black women, or how he feel about it? Wow. I feel like that's not our burden to carry, because I don't pick that up. Anybody, any Black woman, like, I encourage you to not pick that up, because we did not label ourselves that. So it's time to let that one go. Personally, that's all.
Yes, ma'am. And Miss Kiesha, how do you handle being identified as the only in a room, or being titled as the angry Black woman?
Well, as I shared on the pre-call, we had a microaggression training, and I said something about being labeled as an angry Black woman, and all my colleagues were like, no, not you. And I'm like, yeah, me, I get that. And I know who said it, you know, as well. They don't say it to my face, but they say it behind my back. And I explained, like Asia, that I'm not angry, I'm passionate. And you mistake passion for anger, you know, that's on you, not me, because I'm not passionate just about Black people or standing up for Black rights. I'm passionate about everybody. And if I see someone, you know, being treated unfairly, I don't care what color they are, I'm going to stand for what's right. And so once I start breaking it down to them that way, you know, it kind of puts them in a situation where, you know, now it's on them. How are you going to respond? You know, how do you want people to view you? And so I'm just pretty, you know, outspoken. I'm one of those people that you can drop me off in a room with people who don't speak English, and I'm going to network and make a BFF and, you know, have some contacts when I walk out of there. So I don't mind being the only one sometimes in the room, because again, going back to my responsibility, I feel like, and we joked about this, Asia, like, I'm going to be the one that's going to say something, like, just for the sake of saying it, I'm going to do it, because I'm going to take that as an opportunity to maybe educate them, to show them that maybe what they were thinking is not accurate. If there is a stereotype, I'm going to shatter through that. And so when I sit in those rooms and I'm the only one, I'm looking for an entry point. But if they don't give it to me, you can best believe I am going to take it.
Yes, ma'am.
Wow, that was so powerful. I wanted to cry. I was like, oh my God, that's so powerful. And Kiesha, I definitely understand about that, like having a BFF at the end of the day, because like I would have like Ted, like, yeah, we're BFFs now. It was like, yo, totally, you just met that person. I was like, yeah, I know, best friends for life. But thank you for sharing those two ladies. And I want to bring this topic up. You guys are both women and mothers, right? So I'm like, okay, as a new time first mom, you know, figuring things out, I just wanted to know how you guys juggle it. How do you juggle when it comes to the work-life balance and being there for your kids, right? It's not like, I don't want to be that parent where it's like, hold on, babe, I see you, I'm working. I see you. Okay, hold on, I'm working. So I don't start work till the end of the month, August. So I'm like, yo, man, I'm like, how am I going to do it? Like, how am I going to, you know, if I got a customer call, Amadi's going to be crying for food. How am I going to do it? So I just kind of want to get both of y'all takes. And I know there's women and mothers listening too as well. Like y'all can probably relate, like, oh yeah, like I know this question or this is what I do. So definitely want to hear about your experience when it comes to that work-life balance and this motherhood.
Well, Kiesha, you the best, so I'm gonna let you go first.
I'll take that, Asia. I know you how you mean it, because I am the senior, you know, here probably of everybody. So my son, Kyler, is 27 years old. But I do remember, you know, those early days, like when I got on the call, Tolu, and saw you, you know, with your son, that just really brought back memories. And I applaud you for making a way today and figuring out, okay, how am I going to do this? Is it better for me to just have him on the Zoom call? That was what I did. But 27 years ago, we didn't have Zoom. So I took him to the office with me. And there were days when he was crawling around my desk and I didn't even realize what I was doing back then. I was doing it out of a necessity. And what I was really doing was pouring into him and showing him a real life example. I remember once I lost him in the office. I'm like, oh my God, where is he? I'm going to get fired. This is it. I find him at 10 years old talking stock picks with two advisors who later became his bosses. They let him be an intern when he was 18 years old. And so, you know, again, as a young mom, I didn't know what I was doing. I was just trying to balance. I was trying to find the work-life balance because there were times when he was the last kid picked up at daycare. There were times when I didn't make it, but every time that I could, I knocked it out of the park. I went over and above, you know, to try and compensate. And so you have to come to a point where you realize I'm going to make my child my priority, but I also have to make sure that I'm giving my whole self to work and to my projects as well. And sometimes there's going to be sacrifices and everybody has to share in the sacrifice because everybody wants to share in the success. So that means your son, your husband, your family, they will have to make some sacrifices too, but you can do it. And, you know, if you look at my situation now, here we are 27 years later, fast forward, and my son is a financial advisor at Merrill Lynch, and I could not be more proud.
That's awesome. I'm just writing all this down on my side. So I'm 9 months into this, right? And just to give y'all like a timeline perspective, I started at the Jags in December of 2019. I moved to Jacksonville January of 2020. I found out I was pregnant March 7th. Like literally 2021. And right after that, like I had just got here, just got my cool girl car. I was like, I'm getting a Jeep because I'm about to be on the beach. And that is like the worst car that you can have if you have parents. And I ended up like the day I found out I was pregnant, went to the doctor and he was like, actually, you're having twins. And I was like, I cannot do this. But that goes back to how it's really important about who you work for, because I was terrified to tell them that they had just hired me. I just moved here and I'm actually about to go on maternity leave. And I felt like I was supported across the board from the organization because there were a lot of parents that worked at the Jacksonville Jaguars. And the most, I guess, telling thing for me was that when I came back, I was like terrified. Like, Tolu, I know you said you go back at the end of the month, like, how are we going to make this work? I'm used to being this hard worker, long nights. And I was able to do that when I was pregnant because I was sitting at home. I couldn't be out running the streets. So I worked. And I was like, how am I going to be a good mom, figure out mom life? All my family is in Michigan. His family is back in Virginia. So we're like down here doing it by ourselves. And I remember my SVP pulling me to the side saying, like, I don't know if you recognize this, but I leave at 4:30 every day. And you can't call me between 4:30 and like 7. After 7, my daughters go down. I've kicked it with them. We did bath night. We had dinner and they're asleep. And then I can turn it back on. So he's like, if you need to do that, that's no problem. And I was like, oh, I got it. No problem. I almost missed bath night, my first night, like my first week back. And I was like, actually, I need to leave at 4 o'clock every day because my babies go to sleep a little earlier. And it was like, that's no problem. And can I work from home 2 days a week? That's no problem. And so like they were so accommodating and I don't take advantage of it. And I do the work, I show up, and when I'm there, I'm there. And one of the moms at the Jags actually had me read a book while I was on maternity leave called Be Where Your Feet Are. And she's like, this is going to help you. So when I'm at home, I'm like full mom mode. Like very rarely am I on a conference call. And if I am on a conference call, you probably, like Tolu, you probably gonna catch a twin. Like one of them might be here. But when I'm at work and I make the best use of my time while I'm there. Like, all right, you got me from 8:30 to 4. So let's knock out all these meetings, what projects, who needs me on what. And when I leave, I feel good about it. I don't feel like I'm leaving anything on the table because I'm going home to be the mom and show up and be the person that they need me to be.
I just like to say I'm not a mom yet, but I'm taking notes from you ladies, so I greatly appreciate it.
Oh, seriously, I'm over here like, okay, you hear that, Amandi? I'm gonna be home by 4. With that said, what advice would you give a young Black woman pursuing professional sports careers?
I would tell them to definitely have some tough skin. This is not for the faint at heart. You are going to be competing, and that's what it is. Sports is a competition by nature. And so whether you're in the corporate boardroom or you're out on the field, you're going to be in a competition. And because you're a woman, you're going to have to work even harder. And if you are a Black woman, a minority woman, you're going to have to work even harder. So you want to really train, you want to like gear up and, like, what does that mean? And, you think about it, like in terms of a game, like what books do I read? What resources do I have in front of me? This is kind of like my body armor. When I go in there, I'm going to battle. When I wake up in the morning, me personally, I look myself in the mirror and I say, I got this. And that's the kind of attitude that I have to walk in there with, because I'm going to be hit from all sides. I mean, things are going to come from everywhere. And so I just want to make sure that mentally I am prepared, that I am strong. And, as women, we're nurturers, by nature, and we're sensitive. And I try to never let them see me cry. If I have to go in the bathroom and cry, then that's what I might have to do. But I need to have my presence, known there. And I want them to forget that I am a woman sometimes. Let's just talk about the business, of the day. Mm-hmm. So I say to young women, to just literally, prepare yourself and don't ask why, because, when you would ask your mom that and she would say, because there's no other answer or explanation necessary. This is the way of the world that we live in. And so if you're going to step into that arena to be in sports, you're just going to have to be a tough individual and be ready for the punches and the bruises and all of that in a not a literal, but in a figurative kind of way. Just be prepared for all of that.
Absolutely.
You want me to top that?
Hey, just stop it.
You need me to top that. I echo everything Kiesha said. I could only add that one, always remind yourself that like you are there for a reason. Like you are in that space, you're in that internship, that entry level role, that manager, director role for a reason. Don't ever look at it as the luck of the draw, and find a mentor. Like I can't explain to you how important it is to find a mentor in this space. I call my mentors probably a little too much, right? Like I will text them like, hey, somebody just yelled at me and I need to talk this through before I mess around and get fired. Like help me walk through this. And they show up. So I keep going back to who you work for is important. The people you have, you know, in your circle, in your community to help you get through those tough days, because it is not for the faint of heart, but it is definitely doable. And it is some extraordinary Black women that work in sports that want to help you. Like I get so excited when people reach out to me like, can I talk to you about this? Absolutely. Career pathway planning, that's where you can catch me at. Like if you want to talk to me about the box score and what happened, like I'm probably not that person to talk stats with, but if you want to talk brand deals and TV contracts and broadcast rights, that's where I love to chit chat. So I think finding that community in sports and finding a mentor and just really being mindful of the people that you go to work for, because they can really make or break your experience in sports. I've had a not so good experience and I was like, that's it, sports ain't for me. And literally I tried to mosey my way back to the agency world because I felt like that was easy and God had other plans for me. And I'm so glad that I stuck it through. And one thing to keep in mind is that every club and team is ran differently. So the experience that you may have at one club or that you may hear about one club or one team is not, it can't be a blanket statement. Like you really have to try it out. I've lived in several different cities. I've been in New York twice. I lived in LA, I lived in Orlando, and now I'm in Jacksonville. And the club or the ownership group that you work for, like Kiesha says, like she reports right into Jeannie Buss. I work for one of the few minority owners in the NFL, and that matters, and it trickles down from the top. So definitely do your research, and your first job in sports is likely not going to be your only job in sports. So definitely keep your skills sharp and network.
Absolutely. So we are going to move into networking, but I know that both of you ladies mentioned in the pre-screening how you all emphasize letting your work speak for itself. So if you both could spend a little bit of time talking about how you all allow your work to speak for itself and how important that is for you.
I think for me, I work in marketing. I work in social and I work in marketing. So one of the things that I love about this space is almost nothing I do lives behind closed doors, right? So like in the finance piece, like you can't really outwardly say like, oh, this person makes this much, or this is how this stock is moving, right? But in marketing, like we want more people to consume our stuff. So I love like platforms like LinkedIn. I always tell people that if you work in marketing and you come to me, I want to see some stuff that you've worked on. I don't care if you threw your niece's 5th birthday party, you had to put a strategy together, show me how you brought these people together, show me pictures, what was your color scheme, what was your thought process. I always tell especially students, like I think it's $15 a year to own your name. I own Gholston.com and it is nothing but a digital resume. And places like LinkedIn, you can say, oh, this Super Bowl spot ran and I was able to traffic the ad, or I helped with this color correction, or I raised my hand and I said, we should use this song. Like if you were able to work on a project, you deserve to say you worked on it. And from a marketing space, like that is what people like me, I want to see. Like I want to see how creative you are, and I love to see coordinators who had a hand in some of the biggest marketing campaigns to date, because it's a really faceless job and it's going to be on us to actually bring names to the forefront.
Absolutely. Kiesha, do you have something to add?
Yeah, so I would say for me, I oversee charitable affairs for the Lakers, and that includes the business side of our business as well as our foundation, our philanthropic side. And so for me, it's about being present and about being available. I could sit in my office all day long and just write the check, sign the check, approve whatever it is. But that's not enough for me. I am born and raised in South Central Los Angeles, and I have the good fortune to be in Los Angeles representing, an iconic global brand in sports. And so for me to be able to take that back to my community, where I grew up on the streets of South Central, I feel like I'm in a dream. I have to pinch myself. Yesterday's assignment was gathering together about 12 of our alumni players to come to our office and do a press conference. So everybody from Kareem Abdul-Jabbar to Robert Ory, Byron Scott, Matt Barnes, Derek Fisher, all the guys, like that was my assignment yesterday. And to be able to do that on a daily basis, to bring them to the Boys and Girls Club or to the local park or the school, to deliver resources, that is so important. And what's more important is that the kids, the youth, see me and realize that there is a woman that looks like them, that went to school and church and the grocery store where they went to school and church and the grocery store. And even though she started out on 83rd and Broadway, she now sits in one of the executive offices of the Los Angeles Lakers. And so I don't care how tired I am or how many steps I had to get in yesterday or the day before that, I was literally on Skid Row all day Monday from 12 o'clock to 5:30 on Monday on Skid Row. But those things are important because they can't be it if they can't see it. And so for me, I spend my world, my life out in the community. Like when I go to the office, they're like, oh, like you showed up in the office, because I don't like sitting there, all day behind a desk. That's just not me. That's not what I was brought there for. And I told them that when they hired me. I said, if that's what you're looking for, I'm not your girl, because I'm not going to be here, just doing that kind of work. My work is really out in the community.
Absolutely. I think that's definitely, it's a greater impact that you're able to do, not only within the organization, but also within the community. So that's very commendable. So you ladies have both spoke about networking. We have Kiesha, who can go in a room with people, nobody speaks English, but she will find a way to communicate with everyone and work the room. But then we also have Asia, who identifies herself as a textbook introvert. So two different and interesting perspectives on networking. So I do want to get you guys' insight on networking, because oftentimes on Invisible Women, we speak about that because we're often trying to figure out how do we handle or manage our networks, what's the sweet spot, how are we reaching out enough of not being annoying, just trying to figure out what works, not only for us, but also for the person that we're aiming or hoping to port back into us. So Asia, you'd like to answer this one first for us?
Yeah, I'll go. So I am a textbook introvert, and I'll tell y'all how I built my network in sports. So I used to write out, I know I still got the notebook around here somewhere, like my entire speech. Like, this is where I'm from, this is where I went to school, like how people tell you to prepare your elevator speech. I used to write mine every time I talked to somebody until I got it perfect. I am a strategic person because I am a textbook introvert, and I do write down just about everything. So just so my thoughts are in order, and I don't feel like I walk away like, dang, I wish I would have said that. So when I would meet with people, I would always end every call with, is there anybody else that you think, based off of what we talked about, it would be good for me to connect with? So then I got to do the name dropping. So I went from one person to the next, to the next, to the next. Like, Miss Kiesha, who else do you think I should talk to? She's like, you should talk to Linda DeAmber. Linda, it's been great talking to you. Is there anybody else in the industry, based off of my goals and aspirations, that you think I should connect with? And literally it just snowballed from there. So I had my one speech that I would change. And then if it came to a networking event, I was the person that would look up everybody and be like, okay, I got a goal of 2 people I'm gonna talk to while I'm here. And if I can talk to these 2 people, then I can walk away, and I may go home and rock in a corner for a little bit just to decompress. But I was very strategic about the people that I talked to. Now, if I met some people along the way that was a surprise, great. But I walked into every networking event with at least a goal of walking away with 2 people. And then I would have these connection calls that would just carry on, because I would always ask them, is there somebody? I would do the outreach myself. I didn't do the, hey, well, can you introduce me? It was, is there anybody else that you would recommend I would talk to? And they would say the name, and then I would send out the email or the LinkedIn request on my own, and I just took it from there.
Do you think that, before you answer, Kiesha, Asia, do you think that you taking over the recommendation and reaching out to that person yourself, do you think that that helped your, I guess, their intention or responsiveness back to you and being able to like set up a meeting or a call? Or do you think that the person who recommended the new connection, it would have maybe helped you be able to connect with more people?
I think obviously coming in with the name, right? Because like they wouldn't send you here without it. So it's very important that when you do show up, because you're coming off the recommendation of somebody else, that you show up and you show out in the right way. And I think because of how I presented myself on the calls, they were comfortable enough to do it. And I love that, because you never know when you'll need to reach back out to those people. Before I took the job at the Jags, I reached out to 2 different chief marketing officers that I had just talked to on a random. It's a lot easier to get somebody on the phone when you're not looking for a job. Then when it is time, when you're looking for a job, you can double back and be like, hey, I'm about to take this job at the Jaguars. Can you tell me, is it the good, like, you know what I want to do based off our conversation we had last summer? Is this the right role? Am I taking the right steps? Because now they feel like you're a part of their coaching tree, for lack of a better term, or they have a part of your success. So I think it's both, right? Like, I was bold enough to reach out on my own, but I've already done the work and talked to other people that are your peers and your colleagues.
Absolutely. I mean, the worst they can say no, or like we talked about in pre-screen.
I mean, there are some people that told me no, that now I'd be like, oh, I love your work. I'm like, oh, I really wanted to get to know you 2 years ago, but can we talk now? Like, I'm still down for the call. Like, if you'll take it now, like, let's talk.
Absolutely. Kiesha, how do you handle networking, and how do you manage or maintain a healthy network?
So, as I said before, Magic Johnson, who is a mentor to me, a colleague now, a family member as part of the Lakers family, he has always said your network is your net worth. And I really believe that. I believe wholeheartedly that I would not be where I am today had it not been for my networking capabilities and the people that I networked with. You know, I'm not a millionaire yet, but I'm on my way. And so I have I have a network of millionaires. I even have some billionaires with a B that I am cultivating relationships with, because you just never know. You never know when those paths are going to cross, or they're going to need you, or you're going to need them. I do like, you know, Asia's approach. And while it seems like I'm probably all over the board with networking, I do have a strategy, because I find myself on both sides of networking. So sometimes I'm the panelist or I'm the speaker. And so people are doing their research on me and they're coming to network with me. And so what does that look like? I need to be available, and I need to be, you know, kind of focused. I had some interns with me the other day, and as we were walking to the car and I got stopped like every 2 feet, they were like, don't you get tired of this? And I kind of laughed and I said, no, you know, I see it as a blessing. You know, nobody has to want to talk to you, or nobody has to want to ask you questions. And so I don't really look at it as a burden. And that might be that person's one opportunity, you know, to talk to me or to ask me this burning question. So who am I to be like, I don't have time? Well, I shouldn't have been there if I didn't have time. So I take that part of networking seriously. Then on the flip side, I go to events where I'm not the speaker or I'm not the star of that show. And I'm there because I want to get something out of it. So I go through the book. And if there's 2 people, like Asia said, that I want to meet, that's what I'm there for. If I don't meet anybody else, I've done that. And I've gone on with, you know, my day. Now, normally I'm going to come home with about 20 other business cards, because that's just, you know, the nature of it. But I do take it seriously. And there has to be a strategy as well as a sincerity to it, you know. And if you get that vibe from somebody, you know whether somebody wants to talk to you, whether they're going to respond to you. And I kind of give advice. If you reach out 2-3 times max and you don't get a response or the response you're looking for, you should probably just kind of take that one and move on.
Absolutely. And so Garnett just put into the chat strategy and sincerity, you know, just to be pure and intentional when you're networking. And I think that I also heard, it's just that when I network, it's just meet a lot of phenomenal women and sport professionals that I've come across. But I also want to be intentional in reaching out, because if there's a certain background and industry that person's in, I may be like, I'm going to be intentional in me connecting with them. That way the conversation is beneficial for both parties. You know, I've learned that someone I chatted with at Special Olympics International, where I'm currently an intern, he says, you know, I love to learn from you. I love to learn from the people or the young professionals that I'm meeting with every day. So when we set up a meeting, I love when you guys can come and tell me something that maybe I don't know. I said, oh, wow, well, I don't have anything today, but I will note that down for anyone else I may be connecting with, because, you know, we oftentimes as young professionals, we may forget that you all that are already established within the industry are still learning and looking to connect and do different things within the industry also. So we can be an asset to you all as well.
I'll give you this advice. I got this from Deborah Lee 2 weeks ago. Deborah Lee said to me that, you know, young people should not always directly ask a senior person to be their mentor. They should ask them, can we have coffee? Can we meet for coffee? Let's meet for coffee and see if there's even a connection, and then take it. And this was unsolicited advice that I got from Deborah Lee herself. So I have literally been thinking about that, you know, like, have I done that? Have I said the wrong thing? Have I, you know, because I'm very direct and, you know, probably more on the aggressive side. So maybe there are times when I could have just said, let's meet for coffee. Or when someone asks me, I should go meet for coffee.
Absolutely. That's a good note, you know, because similar to you, like I can be direct and very intentional, very expressive in like what I want, what I need, what I'm expecting, but I've always been a little bit hesitant about how do I ask people to be a mentor for me. So that's a great idea. Even though I don't drink coffee, but I'll get a nice Starbucks refresher and you can enjoy your coffee and we can just have a grand old conversation to see where things go. So I definitely appreciate that on behalf of you and Deborah Lee. All right, ladies. So now we're going to move into kind of what you guys are doing currently in your roles, in your prospective roles. So Kiesha, VP of Charitable Affairs, how would you explain your role to someone with no knowledge, i.e. me?
Okay. Well, I can break it down pretty simple. You know, I oversee all of the charitable efforts, community relations, you know, for the Lakers. So on the nonprofit side, our foundation, you know, I oversee fundraising. That's a big part of my job. Just because I work for the Lakers and it's a large, you know, company, they don't just say, here is a, you know, endless checkbook that you can do whatever you want. I have to go out and fundraise. Now, it's not, you know, your typical fundraising. You know, I'm doing golf tournaments where I'm raising $500,000 in an afternoon because people are going to pay that money because they want to be a part of the Lakers. But the good news is the Lakers allow me to take 100% of what I raise and put it back into the community. So I'm doing fundraising on a real grand level so that I can go back and I can donate tickets. I can build basketball courts. I can build STEM labs. I can, you know, send kids, you know, to camp. I can do basketball and health and fitness clinics. So that's all housed under the foundation. Then on the Lakers business side, I do a lot with our corporate sponsors. So corporate partners of the Lakers, especially now in the wake of, you know, COVID, social justice, civic engagement. You know, a lot of companies now, they're not just checking the box, and that's a good thing. They really want to do the right thing when it comes to the community. So they come to me and say, Kiesha, I have X amount of dollars and I want to do this. Or, you know, we're having a dinner or a gala. Would you sponsor that? That's something that happens on the Lakers business side, but it opens up a whole new world. We've been able to create internships. I have 3 interns in my office right now that are a part of the NBA inaugural HBCU intern program. Yeah. The NBA has never had that before. 27 teams came together and adopted an HBCU. And the Lakers adopted Fisk University. And I have 3 interns in my office that I am so proud of, and I'm exposing them to everything. So those are the kinds of programs that come under being the VP of Charitable Affairs. And it's just a lot of what we call special projects. You never know. Like yesterday, you know, with the guys and the Hulu interview and the documentary that's coming out, I do, you know, almost everything. But I love it. And again, it's about creating opportunities and access and resources that I can then go back into the community with.
Absolutely, that's phenomenal, Kiesha. Now I do have a better idea of what a charitable affairs role looks like. So thank you for that.
Kiesha, we're going to talk about FISC. We gave them HBCU of the year with the Black Sports Symposium this past week.
Oh my
in
God.
Atlanta this past June.
I love it. My son's an alumni of FISC.
Wow, look at that.
Yeah, another full circle.
Okay, okay, back to you, Asia, Senior Director of Marketing. Could you tell us about what you do for the Jaguars?
Yeah, so within my department, we have creative design, digital, social, concerts and events for our amphitheater, which is called Daly's Place, which is our music arm of the business down in Jacksonville. Branded entertainment, so within that group is our mascot, our grassroots marketing, our drum line, Roar, which is our dance team. And then also we have brand strategy. So how do we grow the Jaguars brand forward? And then marketing operations. How do we as an organization like operate properly? Because my team services the entire organization. So have to make sure that we have our priorities in order, and we're not getting asked like things that we probably shouldn't be working on, but we would like to help with. So we have one person, she's awesome. She's like, actually, Asia said we can't work on that right now. So I only get the big angry ones about those projects. But I love it because we're the fun group, right? So my job is to grow the brand and grow our bottom line. So how do we make the Jaguars cool, but how do we also make sure that we are getting butts in seats? And how do I make sure that our partnerships team has assets that they can integrate corporate partners into? So whether it's on social, a podcast, our digital platforms, really, I just do all the cool things that make money. In short.
Absolutely. Thanks for that answer, Asia. And so pretty much for the both of you, what would you all, or what should someone know prior to pursuing a job or role such as yours? Give us the good, the bad, and the ugly. We want it all here on Invisible Women.
Well, I would say people think it's just about volunteering. Like, oh my God, I love to volunteer, so I could do your job. No. It is a lot more than volunteering. As a matter of fact, volunteering is probably one of the last things, or the smallest, pieces of the role. I mean, you have to literally get along with, from ownership to the players, current players, their families, alumni players. I mean, I've been there 7 years and I'm learning something new, almost every day. And a lot of times you would probably think, this is not my job, or this is not in my job description. But do you say that? No, you don't. You smile, you figure out a way to get it done. The good news for me is that, I have a lot of departments that I work with at the Lakers. And I know that I've gained the respect of a lot of people. And a lot of people like working with me on projects because it's very rewarding. They get to see the results of what they did. They can show up, they can go to the classroom, they can go and talk to, and I want to make sure that opportunity is available for everyone, not just Kiesha Nix. You want to talk to the youth? I'm going to make it possible because there's so many behind the scenes jobs. And that's something that we should touch on, like creating that pipeline. I mean, where was esports 5 years ago? It was barely being created. And now we pay people to play video games, and that's called esports, or social media. 10 years ago, there was no social media department at the Lakers or the Jags. Now we're paying people. That is a profession. And so I want to make sure that, I'm bringing all of that, to the table. I want to make sure that I'm opening doors so that my colleagues can also have a platform, because again, it's not just about me. Somebody else who is in the background may have something really valuable to share. So I love being able to open up those opportunities. This weekend, I had someone from my ticketing department come out to a unity march that we did. And he actually got to speak with the youth and talk about what he does, and then about what he's passionate about. I had never seen him express himself in that way before, but it was about creating the opportunity, and they were able to benefit from it as well as the employee.
Absolutely. In Asia, what should someone know prior to pursuing a role such as yours? We want the good, we want the tea. Give us the tea now. Don't hold back on
Ooh, let me see how much I can give. No, like marketing is great, but you'll have to understand that everybody is going to have an opinion on marketing. So whether it's what we put out on social, how an article is written, how a player looks, like everybody has an opinion. But you have to, I have a lot of creative problem solvers. That's who I hire on my team. Like I need creative problem solvers. Like I know you can be creative, but like tell me, you can be creative and come up with a really cool idea that you want to do, but how do you handle it when PR doesn't want us to do it, or a player doesn't want to participate in this, or ticketing's like, yeah, I know you want to go do this cool thing, but we need to sell tickets. So what does this have to do with my side of the business? Or finance is like, I'm not giving you no more money. So what are we going to drop so you can pull this off? So really be ready to fight for your ideas, because you're going to have to. And be able to defend what you want to do and know how to get along with other people. Like cross-team collaboration is key. Like my team can't go walk up to Trevor Lawrence without talking to PR, right? Like we all have to be on the same page and make sure that we're all putting out the best product for the business. So it may be your idea, but how does it help drive the business forward? So I love creative problem solvers. So that is what my team is built of, and we've been surviving and thriving this whole time because of it.
Wow. You all are some bosses. Okay. All right. Before we close out and before I have to head out, I do want to know what's your favorite books and your current song on your playlist. You know, it's all work, work, work. Where's the play? How, you know, when you can relax, what's your go-to when it comes to the books, and then your current song on your playlist, or both?
Oh gosh. Well, on my playlist is Beyonce, like all the time. Yes. And so I'm just waiting for the entire album to drop so I can have all of that. But the new song is definitely on my playlist. And I cannot remember the exact title of the book that I'm reading, but it was suggested to me by a man, and it's about how women control power and how women handle power. And I do appreciate that. One of my mentors, I will find it and put it in the chat or get it back to you guys.
Yes, please. That sounds interesting. Asia?
So I always say that I've survived corporate America through like very carefully curated Spotify playlists. So I have this ever-growing playlist that I've had for years called Dear Corporate America. And I listen to it at least twice a week. And it's really just all the songs that will be like, yep, I can do it. Yep, I'm supposed to be here. And one song that I feel like I'm constantly playing is I'm the Best by Nicki Minaj. And she has this bar where she's like, as long as they understand that I'm fighting for the girls that never thought they could win. And I'm like, yes, this is why I need to be here. This is why I need to move forward. And then one of my favorite books I read during the pandemic is called Hood Feminism by, I believe her name is Nikki Kendall. So that is one book that I feel like I really resonated with.
Wow. Thank y'all so much for those. I appreciate it so much. It was nice talking to you all. And I love all the advice that you gave me. I was over here like mental notes. I'm like, okay. So hopefully the viewers are doing the same, but I do have to hop off. But it was very, very nice being back on the 50th episode. Candace, I'm so proud of you.
Oh no, thank you. You know, I try. I got some shoes to fill, you know, but try to do my best.
You're doing
great. Thank you for joining us. And alrighty, friends, as Tolo is hopping off, I would like to announce our Q&A. So please begin to drop your questions for Kiesha and Asia into the chat now before we go into Q&A. Alrighty, ladies. So final question of the episode. We went through it a little bit the other day in the pre-screening. Something I like to close out with every episode, at least of my season. What would you all tell your younger selves? What do you all wish you knew then that you now know? Or it could be even something that you're working on still, because we've met with a few women on Invisible Women, And they'll say, well, I'm still trying to figure out how to give myself grace every single day. So I just want to know, what would you all tell your younger selves?
That it will all work out how it's supposed to.
That's it, period. Drop that mic. Period.
And I would say, to not take things too seriously, to have fun, but to also just remember that there's consequences that do come with all the decisions you make. So really think it through.
Absolutely. Everything happens for a reason. It'll all work out, and think your decisions through. Absolutely, ladies. So now jumping into the chat to read off our first question. What convinced you that the organization, it comes from Matt Edelson, one of our producers, I'm sorry. What convinced you that the organizations you work for are seriously committed to providing career opportunity pipelines for women of color? You guys can decide who goes first.
I can go. For me, I met our VP of HR several years ago before I started even working for the Jags. I was a panelist at the NFL HBCU Careers Forum, and she just walked up to me after and was like, I love your story. And we just kept in touch. And when a job opened, well, she asked me what I was interested in and what I was doing and how I saw my career going. And we didn't talk probably for another 2 years, and a director's role opened up in the marketing department, and she reached out and was like, hey, you want to take a call real quick? And I think just talking to her and understanding where they were trying to go from a diversity perspective, there was already a woman VP who was Black, which I loved. And Kiesha talked about this earlier, that you can be the first, but you don't need to be the only. And I was looking at a few different opportunities at the time, and I decided, for me, especially post the summer of George Floyd, that I didn't want to be the only. I didn't want to do that fight by myself and internally. So it's really important that wherever I went, there were multiple Black people that worked there, that community existed, and that they would welcome me with open arms. And during my interview process, I met with a lot of the Black people that worked there, and they were like, you'll be good here, sis. Like, I literally asked them, like, yeah, I know I can do the job. Am I safe here? Like, psychologically, am I going to be safe here? And you just got to be willing to ask those hard questions during your interview process. And I did, and I like the answers, and I'm still in Jacksonville.
Absolutely. Kiesha, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, so I would say that, when I first was introduced via, email to Jeannie Buss and Linda Rambis, and questions and things are going back and forth, I remember somebody asking me, do they know what you look like? Like, do they know who you are? And at first they probably didn't. But when I got there for the interview, Jeannie Buss popped out of this office. She wasn't even supposed to be in the interview. And it kind of startled me. And she said, oh my God, I'm so excited to meet you. And I was like, you're excited to meet me? Like, I'm excited to meet you. And she goes, we Googled you. And in that moment, I froze because I started thinking about what came up when she Googled me. And thank God, everything was clean. But two, it really showed me, that they cared about making this decision, who they were, talking to, interviewing, and the fact that they did know exactly what I looked like and who they were getting. And they didn't interview anybody else. So surprise, you got a Black woman, but that was okay with them. And they wanted the best person for the job. And they felt like that was me. And so from the very early stages, leaving somewhere after being there for 21 years and going to the Lakers, I knew that it was the right thing. I knew that it was going to help take what I wanted to do to the next level. And again, I saw working for a woman, that was going to definitely help to kind of catapult my career. And so I felt that kind of safety net, like, Asia said, I feel like I'm at home. I feel like I'm working with family, and I really appreciate that.
Absolutely. Thank you, ladies, for that response. So for the sake of time, we're going to take one more question from the chat before we have to let our very busy, lovely ladies go for the day. All right. So this question comes from Jocelyn Monroe. She asks, how do you balance the idea that we are women of color, have to be better, smarter, etc. than others, and still give yourself the room to fail and learn from it? We'll start with Kiesha on this one.
Well, as I mentioned before, part of that is a given, Jocelyn, that we are women of color. So the expectation is that you are going to have to, outperform whoever it is, you're competing against. And so once you accept that for what it is, it's like breathing. You just do it without thinking about it. You are who you are. God made you special and you have a superpower. We all have one. And so I want you to just concentrate on, I know that when I walk into every room, I'm going to need to put a little extra on it. That's why my favorite colors are bling, glitter, and sparkle. Because when I go in there, I'm going to bling, glitter, and sparkle. And so I just kind of know that. And I build that confidence up. And whether you are an extrovert like me, or more of a textbook introvert like Asia, you still possess that kind of power. And so just knowing that you're going to have to do that is fine. And then surround yourselves with the people who know who you are and what you're made of. Let them pour back into you, because you can't pour from an empty cup. And so you can give and you can strive and succeed and be more than you need to be, but then you need to also fill yourself back up. And so that's where, our circle, our friends, our family, our children, that's where they come into play, because they can give you what you need to survive in this kind of crazy world of sports.
Absolutely. Asia?
All right. Of course, we get to the end and then we start having technology issues.
It's all good. Did we lose her?
Uh-oh, she's frozen.
Oh, she froze. Okay. All righty, friends. So the rest of the questions that did enter the chat, we will get Kiesha and Asia's email addresses and get your questions answered and emailed to you guys. So please, please, please don't feel like we forgot about you. Asia, you back? You want to give a quick note to the last question that was asked in the chat?
Let's try it. What was the question real fast?
It was about being, just being a Black woman and being able to be, always the stigma about having to be perfect or smarter than the people in the room, but also giving yourself room and space to fail and grow.
Oh, I'm so good at giving myself space to fail. I try not to, it's always, you're juggling a few balls, just try not to drop all the glass ones, and definitely don't drop the same one twice.
Look, that's it. That's it. Thank you so much, ladies, for joining us today on our 50th episode of Invisible Women in Sport. And now I'm going to work to close out the show. Special thanks to all the organizations that registered: Asia, Kiesha, the Invisible Women in Sport team, and all of the women who have been previous guests on Invisible Women in Sport. We thank you all for the support of Invisible Women in Sport. We're a nonprofit organization with other programs that impact various social justice issues. Please use the QR code displayed on your screen to provide us with a financial gift as we continue to change the power of sport. Thank you. And once again, we would like to extend a special shout out to Tolu, who joined me as a co-host, our guest, Asia, and Kiesha, producer, Garnett, and the rest of the Invisible Women in Sport team. And a special shout out to the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Los Angeles Lakers for allowing Kiesha and Asia to provide us with their presence on the Invisible Women in Sports Zoomcast today. Please follow us on all social media platforms to stay up to date and informed on future programs at Institute SSJ. If you ever miss an episode, we've got you covered. All of our episodes are uploaded and up to date on our YouTube channel. Also, we receive a lot of inquiries about internship opportunities. If any of our supporters or members have internships available, please, please, please send those to our producer, Garnett Overby at goverb@sportandsocialjustice.org, so we can send that out to the people reaching out to us. And everyone, please be on the lookout and register for episode 13 on August 11th of Invisible Women in Sport, where I will sit down and have a conversation with Miss Monique Holland, Deputy Director of Athletics, Chief of Staff at Northwestern University Athletics, and also a proud alum of the Alabama State University. And once again, everyone, I am your host, Candace Martin of Invisible Women in Sports. See us now.